Welcome back. Today I'm going to assemble the valve body for the POWR-TROL system on this John Deere B. There's a few different ones of these. There's a power lift that has a little foot pedal that you hit with your back of your heel, and it just goes all the way up or all the way down. And then they make the POWR-TROL, which has a lever that operates it, and it can stop at any point during the system. This one has a rock shaft, and it has the capability to run a cylinder in the back too. So we'll get started assembling this. I'm not going to go into a bunch of theory on this. This is just basically an assembly video for this particular POWR-TROL, which is, it's a PCV version. I think this is a 207161 serial number, but they changed a few things over the years. This is probably the very close to this tractor is the very end of the lettered series. It's got a few similarities to the version that they used in the 60s and the 70s and the 50s. So at that, we'll get started on this, and I'll show you how to put it together and what you need to be watching for as you put one together. If you use this for a tutorial or not, that's up to you. We just try to do the best we can here. You might hear in the background or not, I don't know exactly, but Paul's cleaning parts, which is a very nasty, dirty part of restoring a tractor, but he's willing to do it, so I'm going to let him do it. The first thing I need to mention on this POWR-TROL or any hydraulics, cleanliness is the key for these things to have any life. So I have cleaned this unit thoroughly. I first started by just washing it out with solvent the best I could with the brush, and then I got some little wire brushes that go on. These go on the end of got a little fitting on it that goes on a drill, so you can get in there and get all these passages. One thing I suggest, I got the ones from Amazon that were like, you get a little box of them. They cost a little over $10. I think if I did it again, I might spend a little more money. I don't know if it made a difference, but these had a tendency to shed the little wires, and I found a bunch of them in here as I was continuing my cleaning. So, but yeah, you put them on a drill, put them in there, polish all the bores and stuff, and then we cleaned the outside, of course, and cleaned all the corrosion and rust that was on it. Then I got a rag and some more solvent, and cleaned, and then I started, we got some solvent and little brushes like this. You can get, I think we got these from Harbor Freight, so when I was up there one day. But yeah, we found a lot of little wires from my wire brushes in here, and I think I got them all out. And then I got some white, it's kind of like a tissue paper, and that was my final cleaning. I got some lacquer thinner and a white rag or a white paper towel, and really went over it and watered it up in a and poked it down in there with a screwdriver and turned it, whatever. They're a lint-free cloth, and we got it cleaned up the best we can, as far as I can tell. So I think we're ready to assemble. The first step is to add the metering screw, the operating valve plug, and the fast drop adjusting screw. So we'll start with the operating valve plug. It's on the bottom of the unit. So it's this big old plug here. And tighten that the best you can right now. The metering screw, which is the one that has the point on it. It goes here on this side, about in the middle. It threads in there. Before you do that, it's important to put a sealing washer on it. I've got the jam nut pretty close to where it was originally. Probably not exact, but close. But you put that on there, take your 5/8 wrench, give it a snug there. I'll hold it there for a second. All right. Then there's a cap, a washer, and there's a cap. You'll be into this whenever we put it on the tractor. Like I said, today we're just gonna assemble this. I'm not gonna do much testing on it because you have to have a tractor that runs to do that, and well, we're a few episodes away from doing that. The one on the bottom is the drop screw. I think this one here is what you use to adjust the how fast the oil returns. These 3 items installed. The next part to be installed is the relief valve. This is the relief valve. You want to make sure, of course, it's very clean, and the bore is very clean. Now, I don't know if we'll be able to see this or not, but you put this down here in this center bore, and I'm trying to do this in such a way to where maybe you can see something as I go. I think I got it down in there. Let's see if we can get it to, there it went. Okay, the next part is this big old heavy spring. So you drop him on there on top of that relief valve. The next part that goes on is there's some washers, and these washers increase your pressure on this spring. So the more washers you have, the more pressure it has. Well, the first thing they suggest is 5 washers. Well, this one has quite the stack of washers on it. I think it's got twice as many washers as what Mother Deere suggests. But it also, in the manual, it says if it has 10 washers, you put 10 washers back in it, and then you can adjust as necessary once you do your testing. And it's very accessible in the back of the tractor. So I want to tilt this over and put this in because I don't want all my washers to go flying everywhere. Yeah, all right. Go on to the next step. We'll assemble the cam latch assembly. I got the plunger, I got the spring, you got the plate, and then it's important to assemble it with this in this orientation because you got to get your pin in this orientation, and then compress the spring. I'll put the cotter pin in there and fold it over and be right back. The next piece to go in is the release valve. It goes in there in this orientation. Push it all the way down. Now you take the cam lock and you put it in with the cotter pin towards this side. That. All right. The The next step is to install this pivot shaft. There's two of them in here, and they're both the same, but this one here, you use these two, put cotter pins in these two holes, and I think on the other one you would use these two holes. Do it home. There it went. Oh. Okay. There's a pinhole there and a pinhole on the other side, and this keeps this cam lever, keeps it centered on our shaft. There we go. Install cotter pin here, and you put one over here. The next parts that go in is the cam follower lever, the cam follower spring, and the pivot pin. So first we start the pivot pin and add the cam follower. It says in the book it's easier to put these pins in before well, I burred the end of my pin whenever I cut it off. Made it go in there a lot easier. So to put that one in, put that one in, put the flat part there. There. I'll squish them down in there a little bit. Make them not want to come out so quick when I do the bending them over. This is where I jam a screwdriver into the meat of your hand doing this job. Kind of get them started with the screwdriver there and bend them over with a pair of slip joint pliers. Be able to do that's the trick. Alright, so you get that in there, then you slide this over where it goes. Usually these springs have an arch in them, the direction they've gotten used to sitting over the years. And then plugs that go on the side. They go right here, and then this is the one for the other shaft on the other side. And it goes down here, and that's what keeps what bit of oil that leaks around the threads from getting all over your nice new 1952 John Deere B. We're going to install the operating valve in here. You notice it'll have these two scalloped places on there. You want those towards the check valves, which is in the front. So since you're looking at the back of this, we'll install this in the bore with those scallops pointed down. And it slides right in there. Kind of make sure it doesn't catch or anything. The next thing is the operating cam, which looks like this. These ramps here, if you loosen these up, I took mine out and was cleaning stuff, and then I noticed that before I like wire wheeled them or whatever, they had a shadow where they were adjustable. Now there's a procedure that's in the book that tells you how to adjust these to get them perfect. What I'm going to do is hopefully put these right back, because I've seen the shadow of where they used to be. I'm going to put them right back in the place they were originally and tighten them down. Hopefully we won't have to adjust anything, and when I do the check it'll go through it. But if not, this is the relief valve. There's a big spring in there, if you remember. Well, I got this screwdriver in there holding that up, which is taking the pressure off of this cam. And I got a really big screwdriver that'll get underneath there when I get the operating lever and pull it up and get it out of the way. And then this other cam right here, we'll have to compress it so we can get it all in there. It takes about all the hands that I have to get this to happen. First thing we need to do, install a 471-554 National Oil Seal, or you can go to John Deere and pay 3 times as much for it. But the first thing we need to do is put a little grease on this seal surface. That way it doesn't catch on any burrs or anything out. It's not like this is going on a shaft that spins at, you know, a high revolution, but still, it's a good habit to get into. And so first order of business is to get the operating cam in here. So it kind of sits in there like that. Then you get Mr. Big Screwdriver to lift up that cam to get it to, about right there. Oh, well, that was painful. Ow! Okay. So, you're going to be a stinker about it, huh? I practiced this about 3 times off the camera. There it goes. Anyway, get it in there like that, and we'll be ready to put the operating lever, which is this guy, in there in a minute. Mr. Paul, Mr. Dare to be Different, wants to have his operating lever on the opposite side of the tractor than everybody else in the world. So you can do that. That's completely possible. They are made to be switched from side to side. Get that thing started in there. Take it on home. All right, let's see. I'm gonna put this screwdriver or this relief valve spring. I'm gonna try to get this started in here. Alright, we should have it really close to being started. Really, really close. We'll try that. But anyway, tried it 2 or 3 more times. I finally got the right combination of screwdrivers, hands, and hold my mouth just right, and I got that centered in there, and the shaft was able to go in. So anyway, here's the next important part. You need to get the shaft in far enough that if you look on this shaft right there, right here on this shaft, there's a little hole. And what that hole's job is on the other side of the shaft is a Woodruff key. And you have to put the Woodruff key on the bottom of this shaft. It's only a little slot on this side of this operating cam. So I want to turn this over and you'll see what I'm talking about. Here's our woodruff key, and right there, where my finger is the slot, and that slot goes in here, and I'll take my screwdriver and start it down in the slot, hopefully. Somehow my screwdriver got magnetized. Anyway, it goes down that slot, and that hole is there so you can get that to the right spot and push that woodruff key out, and it'll fall down in the case, and then you can get the lever out. So that took me a little while to figure out when I didn't have the book. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that woodruff key in that lever and put it all together and bring it back. Now that we have our operating lever installed, we're gonna hook up the operating valve link into the onto the cam here. So there's a pin, and you just push it through there and get you a nice new cotter pin. Put that in there and bend it over, and that portion of the job is complete. I'll be putting on this cap, which goes on this side. That'll seal off this end, and there's also a bolt that goes, I think it lines up with the spot where the hole is, so you can get the woodruff key out. So this one actually needs to be pecked over just a little bit farther, but basically the key to this job is to getting this all lined up to where the shaft can go through. Once I got that lined up where it needed to be, it just zipped right in there. All right, so I got my cotter pin installed, and right here where my screwdriver's pointing, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there is a kind of like a hole, and it's countersunk right there. That is where this bolt is supposed to go across. So you just install this bolt right here and tighten it up, and this portion of the job is complete. Next, we install this plug that we've taken out so we can clean things. The next item is to put your check valves into the housing. Now there's a very specific way that these go on, and this is your last chance to check in there, see if there's any junk in there. One thing I want to add is you can actually lap these valves in just like you would a set of intake or exhaust valves on the cylinder head of a, an engine. Now these here just look perfect, so I didn't feel that it was necessary to do that. But this is your last chance also to look to make sure you had that valve in there the correct way. See if it's got the little scalloped ramps pointing towards you, because otherwise it's you tear it completely apart. Then it's almost completely apart. So all right, now with these, they're all the same as far as what these do, and all these balls all measured the same size as well. So the first thing we're going to do is put a ball in, and then we'll put the ball on the other side. All right, so this valve, you can put it in. Goodness. It can fight you because, well, that's what this thing does. All right, pop that in there like that. And that one goes in there like that. Should go down and seat. All right, now here's the tricky part. If you look at these inner check valves, you notice one thing is longer than the other. The longer one goes towards the outside. Inside of these inner valves, there is some little holes, and if it gets pushed in there and you're just like barely putting some pressure on it, you just want something to come up real slow, I believe it pushes on this one and it lets just a little bit of fluid go through them holes there instead of lifting that valve off your seat and making it go up really fast. I could be wrong. But anyway, the big thing is that since this is machined in such a way to where it's got one long one and one short one, the long one goes towards you on both of them. Put in another ball. Yeah. Then there's a spring. There like that. Copper washer. And a big old plug goes on there like that. And like that. It'd be very easy to mix this all up while you're trying to, you know, take it apart. About half of this stuff just rolls out on the floor, so that's why it's always really good to have a good manual on hand. We have some A3190R O-rings. These are to keep the dummy plugs here from leaking, and these are a real treat to install. I have a arsenal of weapons here to get them in the grooves. They're way down into the side of this housing. Basically, I turn them sideways and have them go in there like that, and then I take these picks and try to roll it up into the groove and get them to stay in that groove long enough to get it all the way around and seat it in there. Now, I'm going to try to do one on camera, which I don't know if you can be able to see in here or not. Probably not. But I can. So basically I kind of squish it down, stick it into the bore. Get in there like that. Then this one's kind of tricky because you see on this other one I can stick my finger through there and hold it. This one not so much. It goes to the inside a little bit, so basically got to get it up in the groove, and it popped out. That's kind of what I figured would happen, especially since the camera's on. I don't know what it is. Must need to work on that grace under pressure thing. I don't know. Anyway, we'll give it the second chance here. I think it fell out on the other side now. Pushed it. You could push it clear through. There's guys that had to replace these with the POWR-TROL on the tractor, and I could see where you could invent a few new words for the English language, because they don't want to go in these grooves, and they just soon do anything but. Hey, I got it in there. But anyway, there's one. Now I'll try to go in there and get this bottom one, but you basically get the idea how it's done. Okay, finally got all them O-rings in there. All right. we're going to put the plugs in there. They just basically kind of give them a little twist and go in there. Now I put the pins in for these plugs and put this flat bar in. That's spring steel, and then you got this lever that you do it like that. You can take the plug out, and then when you're ready to go, you put that lever either up or down, and then kind of pull on your plug a little bit, and she seats right there where she needs to be. And as long as this is in the, keeping pressure on there, those will not come out. On the bottom, you have right here, you got the POWR-TROL drain plug. Then you got the test valve there. You just you open that up and you fill it up with oil until it runs out right there. You have this guy here, which it is, I believe this is a drain valve of some sort. I don't know. Let's see what the exact nomenclature is here. Oh, that's the throttle valve. Duh. Anyway, this is what the screw pushes on the outside, so it tells it how fast to go down whenever you're dropping your implement. Well, I cleaned up, made a gasket for the top cover. We'll be getting in there to do some adjustments and whatever. And we got the control lever all cleaned up, and I chased the threads on the inner and outer of that so it'll go down and tighten up. I finished this up, and so the lock will work the way it's supposed to. Add the cap there, tightened up the oil, the level check. I don't know what you would call that. Drain. Put these two plugs in for the auxiliary ports, and we added. You're supposed to. There's like a set of plugs that you could put your hydraulics in, and then there's a cover that could go on, screws onto them, and you can store them right here on the side. So that was still there on this tractor, so we cleaned it up and put it back on. So that completes the POWR-TROL valve rebuild. They're really not too difficult. I mean, there's a few things in there where you gotta hold your mouth just right for it to, and have three hands to put it together, but I don't think it's anything that an average hobby mechanic couldn't handle. Down. Okay. Okay, it's on there.
I'm finishing by putting the POWR-TROL on by tightening the bolts. And
oh, easy. You don't really want that thing to fall off there, do you? Okay, hey, easy. They're not. Got one in there. There you go. Get your stud. Is there anything special about these bolts, Paul?
no. PTO shield housing Dad did a brazing job right here. Did a good job.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Praise from Caesar.
Then we got a
Gasket. That what seal did we put in that?
We put in a John Deere AA2296R.
There you go. All right.
Now I'm gonna.
That seal, or not seal, that gasket is can be thicker or thinner to adjust the in-play on the PTO. So we got a thin one in there right now. We're going to tighten it up and then we'll check it. So go ahead and put her on there. Happens. You need to tighten one a little bit and tighten the other. Yeah, there you go. Just like putting a wheel on a car. There you go. Now you're on the trolley. All right, easy. To the next one. There you go. Fantastic.
It's done. It's tested.
Yeah. I gotta check the input on that shaft, so. Oh, well, that was painful. Ow! Oh, that's the throttle valve. Duh. So.